and welcome to Blueprints for Life. I'm PC Hayward.
I'm Nicole Cutler.
And this is our podcast about models and systems that help us navigate this wonderful, weird, wacky, wild thing that I like to call life. How are you, Nicole?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I just recorded a podcast about The Intern, which is one of my favorite movies, in which I referenced this podcast that we're recording now. So by referencing that one,
That's like podcastception.
I know. I've completed the loop and I'm very excited. I don't think we have any follow-up from last time, so let's jump into our topic. Now, this is one that we're both very excited to talk about, I think, because this is, of all the models that we've come up with in our many years on this weird, wonderful, wild, wacky world, this is the one that I think is most concretely helpful. And I'm going to tell an anecdote. There is a publisher of one of my games. I have games with various publishers, and one of them is AEG, which is Alderac Entertainment Group. And the owner of AEG came to my house to stay because we're friends. And he stayed overnight, and we had a lovely time in separate rooms. I see that look on your face. We were
No shame.
We were very well
I'm not here to judge.
And he said that at the start of the trip, he said, look, he wants to pick my brain about one specific thing. And then close to the end of the trip, I was like, okay, let's talk about that one specific thing. He's like, oh, no, you already answered it. Because we had talked about Giraffe Person.
This is really tall people, right?
Yeah, that's it. So I've got this theory that some people are tall. I call them giraffe people. It's great. How shall we dive into the topic of giraffe people?
I mean, I feel like you need to talk about
the backstory.
Your mom.
Yes. Okay, great. So when I'm not making podcasts and board games and novels and various other things, I aspire to TV creation. And so in the ancient times, I was trying to remember the year, and I was like, I don't know, the historic era, 2013. I did a TV production course. And as part of this TV production course, we all had to work on each other's little shows, like just little 5-minute. The idea was a 5-minute segment of a show, not a whole show. But I, being the crafty, cunning, canny guy that I am, said, you know what? I'm going to do a whole 5-minute episode of a kids show. Spoiler alert, it was hot garbage. I did not know what I was doing. I look back now and I'm like, man, even like from there's a thing about creative ideas where, like, as a quote that I use all the time, the idea is 1% of the final piece, but it's the most important 1%. It's the thing that, like, everything relies on. And you and I talk a lot about the ceiling of an idea. I'm immediately tangenting. This is how we do. Do you want to talk about what, like, an idea having a ceiling?
No, because I don't know where you're going. I mean, I'm sure I have something to add, but, like, I need you to finish the thought before I can elaborate on it.
Yeah, that's fair. After the last recording, we discussed, and you were like, you keep throwing over to me, and I don't know what to say. And I'm like, yeah, I just like hearing what you say. Like, there's no
wrong.
One
of those times. I can derail like the best of them, but I need to start it if I'm gonna keep going. You know,
Nicole, what is the meaning of life? I'm just going to throw over to you and quickly cover that, and then we'll get back onto our main topic. So you used to run a Twitch channel.
I did,
and that Twitch channel was about playing board games, and I think it's okay for me to say it was not amazing. It was not the best Twitch channel in the world. Is that acceptable? Am I going to hurt feelings by saying that?
You're fine.
Okay,
I had
good.
similar feelings.
Yes. And when I met you, part of the reason why I fell so deeply platonically in love with you is because you were ambition personified. And because the thing you were working on was this Twitch channel, you were like, I'm going to take this Twitch channel to the moon.
Side note, it is hilarious that you called me like ambitious, because, like, even in that moment, I don't think I've ever described myself or had anyone describe me as ambitious. So it's
really
just hilarious. Like, I remember that exact conversation. We were sitting outside of a Starbucks.
Yeah.
In a car, having conversation.
You had shoulders. I remember the shoulders.
Yeah. Great shoulders. And I just, this perception you have of me being ambitious and who I know myself to be, they don't match. They're like, and it's
even
just
now,
really funny.
Even to this day.
No, now excuse me. No, now I'm ambitious, but it's only because I know the blueprints of my brain.
The blueprints of life within your head. And so the issue is just that the ceiling for that idea was quite low. Like, even if you made the single best Twitch channel in the whole world, like, it wasn't like you had these wild ambitions that I think that idea just had a low ceiling for. Like
I mean, I think to extrapolate on that, like even board games has a very specific demographic and it's growing, but it's never going to be the same ceiling as like
reach.
making a mug, right? Like everyone needs a mug.
I
I
was
don't
not
know.
expecting
Just looking at an
mug
item.
as the example. I love lamb.
I was really thirsty, so I don't know.
There's a game called Flip 7, which has taken the board game world by storm. And I happen to know the numbers. It sold something like 100,000 copies per week all of last year. It's just sold through the roof. And it's the most accessible game. Have you played that one?
Not yet,
You'll love it.
but
It's
I've
just
heard of
very
it,
good.
which
Yes. And my mum can play it. Henry, my 8-year-old son, can play it. Your kids can play it. It is just that like immediately accessible. And so the ceiling for that game is very, very high. Your husband and I just signed a 3-hour Euro about the city of Providence, Rhode Island. Signed as in we designed this game and it got picked up by a publisher. The ceiling for that is never. There is no possible world where it sells even 10,000 copies a week for a year. Like it just literally doesn't make sense. Now, it'll do very well for what it is, and it'll sell at a much higher price point than Flip 7, and we'll get a higher percentage, blah, blah, blah. But the ceiling for that idea is just in a wildly different place. And that's not to say only work with on things for high ceiling, but just I think be aware of the ceiling and just know that some ideas or some platforms or some genres or some formats, they just like if you released tomorrow the world's greatest film exclusively on VHS, you just can't sell that many copies of it because no one owns a VHS player anymore. So that's the concept of the ceiling, which is a complete tangent to talking about my show. So it was a puppet show. It was called Help. It was about a robot called Help who assisted a turtle. And it was a very ambitious project because I, like some hosts on this podcast, I'm very ambitious. And each person in the class did a different thing on it. So I did the sound for one person. I did the editing for another. You know, we all kind of got together and were a team on each of our different projects. And mine required a set because it's puppets. They can't just be in the real world and have this whole world built. So I just needed a set for this puppet show. And we got to, I think, a week or two before the show, and the person in charge of the set was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to get that done. I'm not going to be able to finish that set. Sorry." And at the time, I was very cranky. Now I'm like, yeah, asking someone with no experience to make a puppet set is kind of an insane ask. Like that doesn't really make sense. They weren't correct to wait until a week beforehand, but we were all young and it's a weird ask. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was in Toowoomba at the time, which is where my family lives. And I was staying with my mother, who is a dear, sweet, wonderful person, who is also your mother, coincidentally. Weird that that didn't come up for the first like 35 years of our lives. And I told her my woes, and she was like, okay, let me sort it out. Within my flight left back to Australia within 24, 48 hours. Within 48 hours, I had not only a puppet set for like full Muppet, like this was to go like 8 foot high. This was a full set. I not only had a puppet set, I had one I could take with me on the plane back to where I was going, which was a 4-hour flight. This is impossible. This
I mean,
doesn't
it's
make
not
sense.
impossible for our mother.
Yeah,
It's not
that's
actually
true.
our
I'm
mother.
just great.
I think that that's backstory that needs to be, it's probably not apparent by the fact that we have different accents, but we're not actually related.
What? This is how you choose to
What?
tell me? Oh my goodness. Nicole is an honorary sister. She's considered one of the family despite not having met any member of the family except for me. That's love. That's love, folk, and that's the topic of our episode, love. And then I'm going to tell the other extreme of the Giraffe Person story, which is at one point, while you and I were running Jelly Bean, we had someone in our life, and I don't want to go into any kind of specific details. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus, and this story very much throws them under the bus. And we were both so stressed and so busy, and made the very, very clever decision to go to every trade show for a year while I had a less than 1-year-old baby.
Raising kids isn't hard.
Yeah, no, it's easy done. And so as part of this, we were running endless Kickstarters and we were going to all these shows, and boy, howdy, were we losing money. We were very good at losing money.
I think you were very good at losing money, and I was not quite as good at stopping you.
I just don't understand the logic of going to every show. I understand it for where we were at the time. It doesn't make sense now, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It was ambitious.
It was very expensive.
Yeah, it was very expensive. Especially because I brought my kid and partner to every show. Every show was not just me, but all of us all paid for on the. It was a disaster. Anyway, So we had these banners, these 6-foot banners, and we were running a lot of Kickstarters. So my dream was, I had this vision. We have a banner and we have a little clippy now on Kickstarter thing. So we pay for the banner once. If we go to a show while it's on Kickstarter, we clip now on Kickstarter onto the banner. And then once it's off
Mhm.
Kickstarter, we unclip the banner and don't have to print a second banner. Again, this is one of those things where now I'm like, this would have saved us like $60. This is, but I was very efficiency driven. I always have. So we asked someone in our life, not name any names, to make a little banner that read now on Kickstarter and could be clipped onto the sign. And frankly, it's a thing that you and I could have done in 10 minutes on Photoshop. But this person was very keen to help. They really wanted to be involved. They were like, what can I do? And I was like, cool, you can make a little clippy banner. Every step of this process, they consulted us. Every step. They were like, hey, look, I'm thinking of making it green like Kickstarter. And I was like, cool, great idea. And they were like, and I want to cut out all the letters for the now on Kickstarter in black. So can you actually go to the store and get me some black card? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like we'll all get, okay, great. I'll go get some black card. And then they were like, hey, I've done the first arrangement of the letters. Do you want to approve this? And I was like, yeah, it reads now on Kickstarter. Like I'm good. Honestly, it was kind of ugly, but I was so drowning at this point that I didn't really want to be like, no, it sucks. We could have done a better job in 10 minutes. And then there was the climax of this story is that at one point they tried to show it to us and we were busy. And so they went in a huff like, well, clearly they don't want the sign. So we never got the sign. We never got this completely fully constructed sign because when it was done, they didn't get the praise and adulation that they felt they were worth. So these two exact opposite stories is the origin of the term giraffe person. A giraffe person is, okay, firstly, the premise is if I come to you and I say, Nicole, I really need a 6-foot giraffe. I don't care what it's made of. I don't care how you get it. I don't care if you make it. I don't care if you buy it. I need a 6-foot giraffe that anyone looks at it and goes, oh, yeah, that's clearly a giraffe. I need it within 72 hours and you have a budget of $250. The two questions that make a giraffe person are one, will they say yes? In 72 hours, you will have your giraffe. And two, do you know for sure, without any more interaction, that this in 72 hours will appear on your doorstep or wherever you need it to be? The important thing is like both of these halves are equally important, that they will say yes and that it will happen and you won't have to be micromanaging them or be checked in. You can be like, look, I need to not think about this for 72 hours and end up with a giraffe. And giraffe person is very specific to you. I have people in my life who are giraffe people. You have people in your life who are giraffe people. They could sit there and list it and it'd be very lovely. But the way that you determine a giraffe person is would they say yes to you and would they accomplish it? That is
Yeah,
a
and
giraffe person.
I think that it's also really important to specify, like, this has to be a scenario in which it's actually urgent. It's actually important, right? You can't just say
It's not
you
a
can't
test. It's not a
you
friendship
can't
test.
apply, yeah, or you can't, like, walk on people and say, "Hey, Peter, I need you to do this thing. You just need to say yes, or you're not
No.
you're not a valuable person in my life."
Yeah. In a situation like the puppet show where I have a deadline and I need this thing and my mom just completely delivered. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's a terrible show, but it's a nice set, especially considering it was made in no time and transported on a plane. It's crazy.
It actually won the award for the nicest set that's ever been transported on a plane and made within 24 hours. It did.
There was some stiff competition, I'll tell you that. Yeah, you're right. It's not a like manipulative walk on people. It's a in case of emergency break glass. Will they be with you? Will they understand it's important? And can they just do it? And this comes up in all kinds of different environments. So the friend who came and stayed with me, they were trying to find someone like I have my assistant Alyssa, who's editing this. Hi, Alyssa. She is wonderful. She is just completely reliable. And when she comes in for work and I'm like, hey, here's the tasks, she knows that she can ask me anything. I'm not saying she has to go off and do it in isolation. But if I was in a situation, I'm like, Alyssa, I am drowning right now. I need a giraffe. I need it in 72 hours. Here's money. I need to not think about it. There would be a giraffe. There would 100% be a giraffe.
I think that there's been a lot of conversation about that more recently when it comes to like household chores, but like when it comes to like mental labor, I think that's a phrase that we didn't have when giraffe person we started using that. But a lot of being a giraffe person is that you're giving them the entire mental load
Yes.
and they can own
Yeah,
it.
I just watched The Intern, and the reason this podcast came up is because The Intern, the Anne Hathaway Robert De Niro film, is just so beautifully full of giraffe people. Have you seen it, or do you remember it?
Mhm.
So there is a scene where Anne Hathaway accidentally emails her mother this like horrible tirade about her mother, thinking it's to someone else, and Robert De Niro is like, "I got this." And he and like four other interns go and break into the mother's house and delete the email and escape again. And at no point is Anne Hathaway or us, the audience, like he just has it. He, in a situation, he just pulls through, and you can rely on him. And he takes the mental labor. It's a wonderful film. I love it. That's why I did a whole podcast about it. But that for me is like such a good example of giraffe personing. And so, as I said, this is one of the models that I think people find the most useful. So when my friend John came and stayed with me, he was trying to find an assistant. He was like, "You love your assistant. I glow about my assistant all the time. You hear me talk about her so much. Sometimes I'll, hang out with someone and come back the next day and be like, oh yeah, this person said, hey, how's it going? And she's like, how did I come up? I'm like, Alyssa, you come up all the time because you're amazing. I have a publisher called Joe, and Joe from All Play, he published Things and Rings, a bunch of my games. And Joe and you met in Nuremberg at a convention, not just randomly in Nuremberg. And I think both of you called me afterwards and had the same conversation, which is Joe put it as, it is impossible to be friends with Peter without endlessly hearing about how amazing Nicole is. And your response was like, it is impossible to be friends with Peter without endlessly hearing about how amazing Joe is.
Yes.
I talk about the people I love. I talk about my giraffe people.
You really do. And I know that you do. And so when he in that conversation said he puts you up on a really high pedestal and you live up to it, like that to me was like the most the biggest compliment I could have gotten, because I know how highly you talk about me, and almost to the fact, like to the point where I get self-conscious that I can't possibly live up to it. So really, that was
You're
just
amazing.
incredible. Thank
Alyssa's
you.
the same way. My girlfriend Kristen. There's just people in my life who are just like, "You're incredible," and I will tell everyone. I apologize for setting up the story and then not doing the bit where you had to like come in and be like, and don't forget you said I was amazing. That was poor storytelling on my behalf.
I do need you to praise me though. That is why I'm here.
It's in the contract. I don't know how you got that in the contract, but it is a necessary part. All this to say that Alyssa is a giraffe person. John Zinzer, being in my life, learned what a giraffe person she was and didn't know the term. He's like, I want an assistant who like is as amazing as yours. How did you find her? But before we had that conversation, I told him the story of Giraffe Person. So when we got to like, how do you find assistant? I was like, so what did you want to talk to me about? He's like, no, you covered it. You told me Giraffe Person. It's just a useful kind of, I don't want to say test in a judgmental way.
No, but I mean, it's kind of a way of condensing down
like clarifying.
the same, yeah, like the same words that you see on a resume that someone's a self-starter, someone can take initiative, someone is, thorough and has follow through. It's just like all those things built into one.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, the first thing that after I tell people the story, I ask them to ask yourself, who were the giraffe people in my life? A very common answer I get from people who are giraffe people to me is this like, oh no, I don't have any giraffe people. I have you, Peter, but I'm not, I don't have any giraffe people in my life. And that is a huge red flag. If you are, what's the phrase? If you're the therapist to all your friends and none of them are therapists to you, that is not a great situation to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second question is like, who are you a giraffe person to? Again, I have Alyssa, I have Kristen, I have people in my life who are just rock solid giraffe people. And I know that if something happens where, extreme case example, like let's say I got very sick and I just suddenly couldn't take care of myself, like a lot of people have this very valid fear of like, oh, my life would collapse. It wouldn't be great, but I have people who would just come and help me out and take care of me, and I would take care of them.
I think it's also important, as someone who self-identifies as a giraffe person, and that's not to say that I'm a giraffe person for everyone in my life. I'm a giraffe person for very specific people in my life.
If you're listening
but
to this
there's
podcast,
also...
Nicole is now officially a giraffe person for you, and you can call her at any time and ask for a 6-foot giraffe, and she will deliver.
I don't even have anything like, but the people pleaser in me is like, because I'm like, I can't even like joke about that. Now I have to. No, but I think it's important, as someone who self-identifies as a giraffe person, that there's still room for chapters in life where
Yes.
it's just not feasible. Like I think that I've been a giraffe person for you and I will continue to be a giraffe person for you. But in this moment, I am, a parent to 2 young kids. I've got a big job. I'm halfway across the country. Like, if you were dying, like, I would get on a plane, absolutely. But
Yes.
I would not be able to make you a set for your puppets at this stage in my life.
No, absolutely. And this is why I really want to emphasize that it is not just you are a giraffe person. It's not a global identifier. It's who are you a giraffe person for, and how, and who is a giraffe person for you. And so actually, I wanted to dive into you and me a little bit, because we had a great phone conversation the other day about this, about how you currently parent 2 under sixes, or under sevens. I don't know, your kids' age shift. They seem to like go up every year or so. It's very
It's
confusing.
weird. It's bizarre. Yeah. I should get that looked at.
Pre-parenthood, you were a 100% rock solid giraffe person for me. Like, no question. If I needed a thing that, in a situation where I needed a thing, you would have flown cross country to be there for me. Like, you had the capacity to do that.
Capable people pleasers, man. Like, we can accomplish a lot.
Nowadays, you don't have that bandwidth. You just don't have the capacity to suddenly drop everything and fly across the country. Not that I ever asked you to. I'm not trying to say like this is a thing that I was constantly demanding, but I knew with 100% certainty that you would.
The bar of which that would something would need to happen that I would drop everything and fly across the country is just much higher now than it was
Yes.
5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I'd still do it, but you'd have to be like in a ditch somewhere, like desperately needing just me, and I'm the only one who could help you. Then
Right.
I'd come.
The dream.
Maybe.
The dream. Being in a ditch. Can you imagine? There's an Oscar Wilde quote, I think. All of us are lying in a ditch, but some of us are looking at the stars. It's very lovely.
Huh.
And life circumstances have changed. Now, this is not to say that you have gone from a giraffe person to not a giraffe person. You've just got different priorities. You being a parent is a lifetime commitment to giraffe personing for your children.
For someone
Like
that you've never met yet, like, it is a big commitment.
If your children need something, you have to immediately, like, there's no question. You are there
It's
for
the
your
law.
kids. That's what, yeah, it literally is. I don't live with my son, and yet if he needed something, I would be on a flight to Toronto instantly. Like, I would pay whatever it takes. I would get there. I would do it. That's just what like giraffe personing obligations are to a child. If you needed something, and this is not me being to say, oh, look, Nicole, it's one-sided. I'm winning at the friendship. Ha ha ha. But there have been times in the last few years where you've drowned. You've been absolutely drowning. We actually paused this podcast for a little bit. Our last episode was recorded like 5 months ago because you cut your arm off. You have no arm.
I did.
It's crazy.
I did. I grew it back. It's magic.
And I was completely ready to be on a plane to where you live and taking care of your kids for as long as you need it. Like, it's not a question. It's just a fact about like the nature of our
I think you
relationship.
offered that as recently as like 2 weeks ago when I was again drowning.
And you were like, Peter, can you please stay in California, please?
I should really learn how to swim.
Yeah. The thing I need from you, Peter, is to not be here. Why are you not getting this? And so I want to talk about this concept, especially in terms of like if you're trying to hire an assistant. Now, I'm not saying hiring an assistant means that they will dedicate their life to you. I'm just talking about this idea of like Alyssa comes in, I give her a task, and I know that it's dealt with.
I think it also like requires consent to what you're giving them, right? They have to say, yes, I can do this thing. And a trust that this person is understanding what is being asked of them.
Yes.
It's not like you can say, hey, I really need this complex mathematic equation to be solved by yourself. You can't use, like, there's only so much I can do, right? You're trusting Alyssa's judgment to know what she can and can't accomplish.
Yeah.
To know that she's not biting off more than she can chew. And if she says she's going to do something, she will follow through on it. So I think that's important aspects of it.
The example is very specifically crafted. It's a 6-foot giraffe, so the parameters are very clear. The only condition is that people can look at it and go, yeah, that's clearly a giraffe. I don't want like an abstract image giraffe. I want something that like, and I say in the example, I don't care what it looks like as long as you look at it and it's a giraffe.
It could be a black silhouette that's just cut out in that shape, right? Doesn't matter.
Yeah. There is a clear timeline. In 72 hours, I need it here, and there's a budget of $250. Like, those are and this example is not like, giraffe person is if you say, hey, I like giraffes, they'll come back with it's a very specific thing. There is an excellent book called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Conway. Yeah, Stephen Covey. And he has a chapter. I think the book's generally very good, but there is a chapter on delegation. He says that to effectively delegate, you need 5 things. I'm just going to read them from this summary. You need desired results. You need guidelines, which is, what they shouldn't do, what the failure paths are, the resources, what they have access to, accountability, which is what the standards are that will be kept to and when it needs to be done by, and consequences, what will happen if it's done or not done. So if I'm delegating to Alyssa and I say like, hey, Alyssa, I like ice cream, that's useless. If the to-do item is, Alyssa, can you please go and get an ice cream cake for less than $50 that I don't and you have to state, I don't care beyond the fact that it's an ice cream cake. Because I don't want, the worst is when someone asks you a favor and you come back and they're like, no, I meant a pink ice cream cake. Was that not obvious? And it's like, no, you didn't say it. I want an ice cream cake for $50 back here by noon. You, and then I think the important thing about delegation is the resources that they have. So in the Giraffe Person example, the resources are, you cannot talk to me. It's a deliberate shutting off of resources.
But you do have money, right? Like you're not expecting them to take on the expense of this thing.
Yeah. They're not going to get it wrong by coming back and spending $2,000. I mean, that would be wrong because you've said it's a $250 budget. Most of these tasks, the resources are, and you can ask me if there's anything you don't understand, and you can use this site that I've found is really helpful. And, I have, here's the whatever, like the resources available. That's, I think, one of the things about delegation that's least clear.
It's interesting that you're talking, this pivoted to delegation, because that's something that I've been thinking about a lot in my personal life, my professional life. And I'm not a published author, but I do have a lot of hours thinking about this thing. And where I've landed is there needs to be 3 things for me to be able to delegate or be delegated to. The first is that there's like trust that if something's just way off course, it's going to be escalated to the person and have a conversation about it. If you hand something off to someone and you can't trust that they'll flag it if it's just way out of expectations, if like suddenly $2,000, you got to trust that Alyssa will come like, actually, we have a problem here. Like there's no way, there's no giraffe in the world that can be made for less than $2,000. Like there's got to be a conversation, right?
Yeah. There's a really common thing in startups where it's like, or in customer service, every customer service rep, they've got a $50 budget to fix any problem. And it just cuts so many $5, $10, like you can give $10 or you can buy whatever. It just cuts all those conversations, but it sets a clear boundary of like, it's not a $10,000 budget. Like if you spend $10,000 to fix $50 order, we've got a problem.
Right.
But you can spend $10 per customer and I won't question it. Just don't be unreasonable with it.
Exactly. So the other thing is like an understanding that the person you're delegating to is not necessarily going to be doing it the exact way that you would if you did it to the fullest extent of your abilities with all of your attention.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing about delegation.
It really is. But you really got to be mindful about that. Like we don't all have the same brain. And then the last thing is an understanding and agreement between the two parties that when it doesn't align, that has to be okay. Because if we're not talking about scenario number 1, where it's like $10,000, we're talking about something that's within budget, it needs to be okay or you're just never going to get anything done.
Yeah. I think those are all really excellent points. What a good model for our podcast about models. And I think the super relevant thing there that I took away from it is this understanding of the person's capacity. And I don't mean like a literal capacity. Again, the Giraffe Person example is very specifically constructed because it's a tangible thing that has open parameters. And there's a level of like the Kickstarter site. Like all we needed it to do was say now on Kickstarter. That's it. If it said now on Kickstarter and could clip on and clip off, we did it, we win. And so to do that, to not achieve that brief is such a like, oh man, what are you doing? Like it just needs to be clearly a giraffe. You look at it and you think it's a giraffe. If you can't accomplish that, you're not a giraffe person. Like it's hard. I'm not saying it's an easy task. 6-foot giraffe is not a common thing. But if you can't identify what is a 6-foot giraffe, and this is very relevant, I think, in my various creative careers. Like I said, for years, you have been my singular giraffe person. During my divorce years, especially, like you were the person I relied on. You put me up at your house for months on end. You helped me financially. Like I don't demand this of my friends, but you really were like, Peter, I am here for you. Whatever you need, I'm here for. And I've paid Nicole back for all those people being like, Peter's grifted Nicole. She's learning this now. She's learning.
He's
she's
paid
like,
me back in friendship. No,
yeah, in exposure. And yet, even as my number one giraffe person for so long, I would never go, Nicole, I need a new draft of this game. It's the economy's broken. Can you get that for me in a month? Like that's
That's just
insane.
not that's not a thing I can do. It's not a thing I
Yeah.
can do in a year. Like, it's just
It's a
not my skill
highly
set.
specialized skill. It actually reminds me of the puppet set. Like asking a random student to build a puppet set, that's insane.
But I think it also comes down to, like, the area of your life in which you're expecting this person to step in. Like, a lot of things that we need giraffe people for, especially in our friendships and our families, is everyday human things. It's not relating to your career or
Right.
I mean, sometimes it is. Sometimes you just need a giraffe for a puppet show, I guess. But a lot of the times it's like, my registration expired, and if I don't do this, they're gonna come and arrest me. Like, I need someone to stand in this line for an hour for me. Like, it's things that a human being can do if they have any experience adulting.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say like related to work. I guess yours are because I think we talked a little bit last episode about like my life kind of is work. Like it's very difficult to be in my life and not in
Mm.
some way get professionally involved. Which is not to say that I pick friendships based on their ability to help me professionally.
It's funny that you say that because people pleasing is so ingrained in my nature, and acts of service is my love language. So anytime that I have a really good friend that I can communicate with, I want to find a reason to work with them. And anytime I have
Yeah.
a coworker who I can communicate well with, I want to be friends with them. And so often those worlds just intermingle for me too.
Yeah. I've had two like long-term assistants at this point, and they have both become two of my absolute best friends. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be times when it doesn't happen. Not my best
You're
friend.
not allowed to say
Very, very
best
clear.
friend, and okay.
Yeah, not my best friend. That's a clear role. Two very, very good friends. And I'm sure someday it'll happen. But for me, like having acts of service is 100% my love language. And so having someone just come over to my house and make my life better, I'm like, oh man, I love this person. And we get along because I think there is and we should talk about this, there is a kinship between giraffe people, I think.
Mhm.
Where you recognize this trait in other people and you go like, oh, I found one. I found a person.
It's funny because every time I identify a giraffe person, you have to explain to them what a giraffe person is. You need to have a
Yes.
way to explain this. And now it's like part of our just language. Like,
Yes.
I was talking to Julie. Julie's my assistant, by the way, who's also amazing. She's not going to be editing this podcast and not quite as amazing as Alyssa, but close. And we were talking about some things. And I was like, I'm keeping no record of this. I'm just going to throw this information at you, and I'm just going to pray to the giraffe gods that if I ever need this, it'll be somewhere. And she just like starts laughing. It's just a language that we use now. And she knew
Yeah.
exactly what I meant. I needed
Yeah.
no additional clarifiers.
I don't know if you remember this, but last recording, I was talking about the fact that like we'd met someone, and I was like, "Oh man, this person, Nicole, is like." It's sad to say that this is your best friend because you don't even know who this is, and so we were talking about the fact
Hmm.
that we just started a group chat. I forced this friendship. This is now months on, and I'm just going to use her name. Miss Heidi is just one of our close friends now.
Hi, Miss Heidi.
And just like and so we explained to her giraffe person, and she had that moment of like, yes, that's what it is. And like I said, a lot of people, and I don't think this is the case with Miss Heidi, but a lot of people, when you explain it to them, they realize, oh, I am a giraffe person to everyone in my life, and almost no one is a giraffe person to me, which is a horrifying realization.
I don't know which comedian had this joke, but it's like if you don't know which one of your friends is the annoying friend, then you are the annoying friend or something like that. I just butchered the joke, but if you know the joke.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I think this term is useful in a few capacities. One is professional. So we talked a lot about friendship. I want to dive into the professional scene. Like, I could not imagine working with someone right now who wasn't clearly a giraffe person. And just having the model, just having the language is so useful to me to like. I don't want this to come across as like it's a test that you pass or fail in my head. It's just like a set of traits that I can identify or like try to identify. Someone
Mm-hmm.
who and when I'm looking for an assistant, because my last assistant moved to New York, she's back now. We hang out because we're friends. And my current assistant is also looking at moving away. Alyssa, hi Alyssa.
She moving to North Carolina?
You wish.
That'd be
She
great.
might not be moving away. It's all up in the air. I'm just spilling her tea on the podcast. Alyssa, you can edit that out if you don't want people to know, because you're in charge of the edit of this podcast. So if Alyssa leaves, then I will have to find a new assistant. And identifying a giraffe person is, I don't know, maybe it's because I've lived in this model so far. I find it quite easy to do because it's as simple as like
Mhm.
you give them a reasonable task, and if they reasonably complete it, then they're able to reasonably complete tasks. If you give them a difficult task and they just shut down or they just don't understand, it's a red flag. It's not a deal breaker by any means. Like there's been times where listeners come in and been like, I don't know what this task means. Great. The fact that you communicated that is such
Mhm.
a green flag.
It's also just like seeing how they problem solve, right? Like
Yeah.
to your point about communication. If they needed that kind of direction on everything, regardless of how difficult or how much experience they've had with it, that would be a red flag. That would be a problem. But sometimes asking for help is a
Yeah.
necessary part of it, and it's a great thing.
Yeah. I would much rather they asked for help and got it right than didn't ask for help and messed it up.
I absolutely have no problem identifying yes or no to whether someone's a giraffe person. And I think that it's important to be mindful of like someone might not be a giraffe person or might be a giraffe person and identify where they are on the scale of it rather than just a yes or no because people have bad days and people have people forget people are human. People are human. That is our tagline. That is how we're all human and we're not perfect.
There's a quote from the Muppets Take Manhattan that I think I quote more than any other quote, which is "People's is people's." It's
People's
like
is
this.
people's.
People's is people. It's this faux meaningful speech. It's so good.
But I think every interaction with someone is kind of like a insight into it's kind of like a I don't even know what I'm saying. Alyssa, please edit this out. That's it. That's the tweet.
Don't do it, Alyssa. Keep it in. No, I think you're absolutely right. I think there is this. It. I don't want to sound too absolutist or essentialist, but like there's a quote that I think about a lot, and I don't think it's strictly true, but I think about it a lot. The quote is, "How you do anything is how you do everything," and I'm an obsessive workaholic. I can't half-ass something. If I do a thing, I need to do it well. And this is part of why I have an assistant and I very consciously delegate. I hate doing laundry. I hate it. I hate like you get halfway through and something goes wrong and it's just like the whole thing gives me the ick, which I realize is a very privileged position to be in. I've done it. I did laundry for 10 years. I hate it. And I'm at the stage in my life where if I had to go back to doing laundry, I've had an assistant for 5 years now, I would have to learn to do laundry really well because the way I do anything is the way I do everything. I can't half-ass things. And so I've got a girlfriend who's very into horses. I don't know if she's going to listen to this. I have now read 5 books about horses, start to finish, and I know the evolutionary history of horses, and I know different types of horses and the secret fifth gate, and I just know GAIT. I know a lot about horses because I don't know how to not go all in on things, which is maybe an unhealthy topic for another time. But I do think there's something to when you're trying to identify a giraffe person, there is something to how you do anything is how you do everything. If you see them immediately like do the laundry and leave it wet in the dishwasher. Firstly, if you're leaving it wet in
That'd
the
be a
dishwasher,
problem.
you've really messed up. If you do the laundry and leave it wet in the machine for 2 days, and my clothes get smelly. Like, cool, you're just not a follow througher, a real word that I didn't just make up. So I all this to say, I agree with you. Like, there is something in like you can very quickly tell if someone is a giraffe person. I want to do a whole separate episode on how to be more of a giraffe person yourself because I think it's a really useful and interesting skill. And again, I'm going to emphasize this for the last time. Being a giraffe person to me is very different to being a giraffe person to your mum, to your child, etc., etc. This is not the pure one and only metric by which I judge people. Nicole has, due to life circumstances, been less of a giraffe person, and I still love you so much. You're still one of my absolute favorite people in the world. It hasn't affected that at all because I understand you haven't just become a lazy person who doesn't follow through. You just have other priorities, which you should have as a mother of 2 small children and running a company.
And I don't want to like negate people who aren't giraffe people. There are people in my life who are giraffe people and just not close enough to be a giraffe person for me, and that's perfectly fine. And then there are people in my life who just that's not their skill set.
Right.
They are the person I'd call if I had an emergency, and that's okay. Like I can still love a person, have a relationship with a person, enjoy getting a meal out with a person who isn't someone that I would call in an emergency, and that is fine.
But when
Yeah.
when you find them, oh man, when you find them, it feels so good. So I talked a little about the professional side of things. For me, like hiring an assistant, if I was to hire someone for my board game company, it would be actually I'll talk about Will. Will runs my entire company right now. We have 3 owners because I sold 2/3 of my
Mhm.
company to 2 other guys. And then we have Will, and Will gets paid a good salary and gets paid on percentage because he literally runs the whole company. And Will is just one of those people who he wants to work in board games, and we pay him well, and we love him, and we appreciate him. We give him bonuses. We do all the right things. But Will is someone who you can throw a task at him, and he will either do it, learn how to do it, and then do it, find someone who can do it, consult them, and work out how much it is for them to do it, or come back and tell us it cannot be done. Those are the four options when you give Will a task, because he is
He's Giraffe.
Giraffe Person for Jelly Bean Games exemplified. He is Giraffe. We should get him a business card that says that.
It's interesting that you bring it up in the professional settings because I think I've made my entire career around being a Giraffe Person.
Yes.
Like
yes.
that's how I identify it in my professional life. And the funny thing is, like, for myself, I'm a corgi. I've got tiny little short legs. I'm the shortest. I cannot do anything. I need Julie's my assistant. Julie remembers to get my kids most days because I'm so if I didn't have my head attached by Julie, it would be gone. But for my boss, for my employer, for my family, I mean, I didn't actually forget my kids, right? But for other people, I'm a Giraffe Person, and I cannot do those things for myself. And I think that it's part of my people-pleasing nature. I'm very driven by people-pleasing. And so for myself, I'm just like, I don't care, whatever.
I think you're absolutely right. You have made a career out of being the Giraffe Person for the company. And I think that this is to your benefit. I think you've very what, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you got your first job at Jelly Bean, like first job in the industry at all. 8 years ago. I'm bad at time.
Peter, that was 10 years ago.
No, it was 2 years ago. And now you are, what's your official role?
Director of Operations for Cardboard Alchemy.
Which is, if you know board games, one of the big companies. Like, you have earned that place in in literally 2 months, I think, is when you started at Jelly Bean. Meteoric rise. And it's because you have just proven yourself to be a Giraffe Person. As your best friend, I get it when I'm like, oh yeah, Nicole cannot prioritize. You are running one of the bigger board game companies and parenting, and in no way am I resentful. I'm like, yep, she is running the world right now. I completely get that. But I would not have asked you on this podcast. Oh, sorry, asked you on this podcast. I would have not have suggested that we co-host. I think you suggested it. I would not have accepted your suggestion that we co-host this podcast if I wasn't like, she will turn up. She will turn up and do the job, because at your essence, like, you do that.
I think part of being a Giraffe Person is being mindful of capacity, because we had so many conversations about this, and so many, like, what would this look like if A, if B, if C, if Z, because I needed to know that it was something that I was interested in enough to prioritize it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, I wasn't going to commit to it.
Yeah. If someone is a Giraffe Person to everyone, you can argue they're a Giraffe Person to no one.
People's is people.
People's is people's. I want to talk about the personal side a little bit, and then we'll do our segments. So when it comes to people in your personal life being Giraffe people, the reason I prioritize this is not to, like, use my friends towards my nefarious. It just makes life a lot smoother when you know that a plan made is a plan that's going to happen. Similar to the way that I couldn't imagine working with someone who's not a Giraffe Person, I could not imagine dating someone who's not a Giraffe Person. And I've done that before. I've had many relationships before I had this tool, before I had this model, before I had this terminology, where I would be like, okay, great. So we've got our weekend planned. It gets to the weekend, and they're like, oh no, I'm going to Spain. Did I not mention that? I'm like, you did not mention that when we booked 4 events that you were going to be in Spain, which is a very extreme example.
And I think it's important that people's is people's, and we all have our moments. And Peter said that we did not book this at the time that we booked it because he was looking at the wrong date.
Oh, actually, let's touch on that a little bit. For today's recording, literally today, I got my dates mixed up, and I messaged Nicole being like, I am so sorry, I have double booked. But rather than that just being the end of it, I was like, okay, here are the options. I can do hours earlier, and I'll get up early and do it. I can do hours later if that works for you. I can just skip this one. You can pick another day. Like, I didn't just fail. I stumbled and then presented a wide range of hopefully not an overwhelming number of alternatives to make it clear that, like, I own this. This is on me. And the next step, I can work around you because I messed this up.
I would not consider you less of a Giraffe Person because you took on the full mental load of, like, alternatives. It's not just, hey, actually I double booked, period. Then you would not be a Giraffe Person, because it's like, okay, are you telling me that it's not happening? Are you canceling the other thing? Like, you're not giving me the mental load other than to check my schedule.
Yeah, mental load is, you're right, a really useful term.
So I'm not holding that against you for not fulfilling, because you've come to me with alternatives, and you wouldn't hold it against me if I said, actually, none of those work for me. We're just going to have to, look at rescheduling. And I think that open communication is a necessary part of it too.
Absolutely. So having giraffe people in your personal life is really important because sometimes things happen in your life. You cut off an arm recently, and I didn't even need to fly out there because you had 4 local giraffe people, and you're like, actually, thanks for the offer. I've got this covered. Don't cut off your arm is my medical advice for the week. But if you had been even, let's say, 2 years before you met me, had you been in a similar accident with similar responsibilities, I think you would have really struggled.
It's actually, so what happened was, I'm going to just, since we've referenced it a couple times,
I
did not actually cut off my hand. I sliced the tendon in my finger when I was doing the dishes right before Christmas. And 6 years ago, when I was pregnant with the baby, when I moved here, I had nobody. Like, we quarantined in COVID with nobody. We didn't have any friends. Giraffe people, not giraffe people, doesn't matter. We know nobody. And now, I sliced open my finger. We needed to call the paramedics. I ended up needing to go to the hospital. I had a Giraffe Person friend who happened to be at the house, who immediately just took over watching my kids and putting them to bed. And then Julie, my Giraffe Person assistant, who's become so much more, also a friend, she found out because our neighbors were texting to make sure I was okay. She immediately came over. She was here before the paramedics left, and she drove me to the hospital on a Sunday night and stayed with me for 4 hours. Like, that
Incredible.
is how aggressively I've curated my circle of people who I have in my life. And again, not to say that you can't be in my life if you're not a giraffe person, but I'm going to prioritize those people that I can lean on, and they're going to prioritize me for the same reason.
I'm going to make a bold statement here. If you want to hit great achievements and success in life, you need a stable foundation, and the most stable foundation is interlocking giraffe necks. That's right. That's my engineering tip for the week. I think that without a foundation of giraffe people, I just don't think you can achieve the heights that you would have otherwise. You hear all these stories of like, oh yeah, this person was great, and then they got an accident, and you never heard from them again, and it's like, obviously that sucks. I'm not blaming. In no way am I blaming victims. That's the other moral of the podcast. But I think that if you consciously, as Nicole said, curate a life of giraffe people, and you will be there for them as well. Like, you and I are both people pleasers. Part of the reason I offer is because I love it when I can like come and help you with a thing. I'm not unhappy that you had other giraffe people, but I have literally flown to your house and watched your children at times because you were just in a situation where you were drowning and you needed someone. And I love to the heart being able to be that person for one of my favorite people in the world.
And you mentioned it's not being no, thank you. It's not being manipulative and using your friends, because in the same way that we gravitate toward giraffe people because we see that trait, they gravitate toward us for the same reason.
Yeah.
So it is definitely what is it? Is it symbiotic relationship?
Symbiotic, yeah. It absolutely is. It's finding your kind. We have a close friend called Allison. The three of us, this little like trio of people who love each other, and she found us, and she was like, "Oh, I've found my people. I've just," and she has done exactly what I'm talking about, and you've done that. You've been that for her. Like, we have just intertwined giraffe necks.
Because I think it's so common when you don't have language for it and you don't know to look for those traits in other people. I've been in situations where I've been the giraffe person for someone and realize the hard way, like, oh, I can't count on them to return the favor. And so when you find that, when you recognize that there actually there are people out there who do have the same traits and who will prioritize you, like, it's hard to justify investing time in someone who won't at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. It is beautiful. Okay, any final thoughts on giraffe people?
I feel like I'll have a million thoughts on giraffe people, but not any at this time.
We will do follow up. And as mentioned, we are going to do at some later date an episode on how to be a better giraffe person, because I have many thoughts on this topic. We covered a few of them, but
many thoughts.
Boy howdy. We're going to do our 2 segments. One is what's on your desk. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
You go, because I forgot we do that.
Oh, I meant to wear the shirt that you got me last time. You got me this beautiful shirt, and I was going to wear it in your follow-ups episode. Should have been in my follow-ups. I'm going to give the most ridiculous, least practical thing. This, for those who am I too blurry for you to describe this?
It's a bottle of water?
It is a glass bottle of water with a metal lid. And this is one of my favorite purchases of all time. We'll put an Amazon link in the show notes. I struggle to drink water, as many people do, let alone busy people. For a long time, I had, the single big water bottle. I would have a single big water bottle, and that was great. But A, it's kind of annoying. Like, there's no place on a desk for a single big water bottle. And B, when that water bottle is empty, it would just sit empty for weeks. If there is water in front of me, I am drinking it. Over the course of this podcast, I have just incidentally drunk half of this bottle of water without even thinking about it. If you want to drink more water, put water in front of you. And if you're built like me, you will just drink without thinking. And the big water bottle works for that. But then it would sit empty for a long time. Having little glass, like what's this, like a liter? Having little 1 liter, I don't know what that is in Imperial. Having a 2-pound water bottle is having a 7-inch water bottle is really, really great, because once this is empty, I get another one from the fridge. They come in packs of 6. Once I have 4 of these on my desk, I am absolutely going to refill those. There's something that it checks off in my brain that a single empty water bottle doesn't. 4 of them, now it's an
It's
efficient,
efficient.
yeah, I'm going to do all the work at once. It makes zero logical sense, but so much of my life and this podcast and trying to improve is tricking your brain in the stupidest ways possible.
You don't need to understand why your brain works the way it works. You just need to understand how to manipulate it into doing what you need it to do.
The side benefit of these two is because they are glass with a metal lid. Gosh, they feel fancy. When I'm drinking, it's
That
just
might
tap
be
water.
why it works for you. Like, it might
It's
just be
just
like,
tap
oh, look
water
at
in the
me.
fridge. I offered it to my friends. They came over and they were like, "Really? You're going to offer us this fancy water?" And I was like, "Why, yes, I am. Yes, please have some of my, it's tap water, but it feels so fancy." So you get to be a better host, and I get to drink more. I love it. A plus. What's on your desk?
I really need to start putting things on my desk for the explicit purpose of like having this ready.
Pick a thing that's actually on your desk. That's the idea.
Nothing worth talking about though, because it's so cluttered. But actually, I have this. This is
Oh,
a Flamecraft
ooh,
2026 calendar.
not a sponsor.
This was I got sent this by, I think Rosie mailed it to me while I was out of town, because we made them for the release of Flamecraft Duels for a marketing promotion, and they
That's
made
really
extras for everyone who works at the company, and it's got Flamecraft art on it, and it's so pretty, and this is the first time actually having a chance to look through it.
For those who aren't aware, what is Flamecraft?
Flamecraft is a board game by Cardboard Alchemy. It is our big best-selling board game, and it's part of what launched the company and helped it become what it is. And so we just released a follow-up called Flamecraft Duels, and this was part of the marketing effort to kind of get a lot of attention on it. And so we sent these out to all the content creators in the industry, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I really like that. My company, not my company, but the company that I work for, the owners like tend to go an extra mile. Like, they put the time and effort in making this product that like you could sell. Like, you could sell
It's
this.
beautiful.
People
Flamecraft, by
people
the way,
would
part of
buy
the reason
it.
it succeeds, it is some of the best art in all of board games / all time. It's incredibly beautiful.
I mean, there's a scoreboard for the Flamecraft Duels game on here. Like, so much thought went into this. It's not for sale. It's just for like the team and our partners and the marketing and the content creators. It's never been on our website. I don't think it'll be on our website. Like, it's just.
There's a quote that you might have heard. The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
So it's funny. Someone recently told me that, and they just weren't memorable enough to remember who that was. Uh, Sometimes I get frustrated when I feel that perfect can be the enemy of the good. And sometimes I see something like this and I'm just like, I see why things are done the way they are. So
Yeah.
I love this.
Absolutely. Hey, we're going to end with our question from the audience. And if you would like to ask a question, I have still not set up an email address, but you can find an email address in the show notes to which you can send your question. The question comes from Bumblepie today, which is actually the same gentleman who asked last time's question. An interesting question is around the idea of the career ladder. Is it less defined / emphasized for more creative industries? How do you understand where you're at, how you can grow, etc.? And this is a really interesting question. We picked this one because I think it. I know. I think this is a juicy one. So a conventional career ladder is, you start in the company and then you work your way up, and after 10 years you might be a middle manager, and then you eventually become like this idea of the career ladder is after entering industry you move up and up.
I don't know how much of that career ladder, and I say this with quotation marks for anyone who is not. I don't know how much of that career ladder is still applicable to bigger companies, or how much of that is just like old-fashioned thinking from before it became commonplace to jump between jobs, every
Right.
2 to 3 years, which is actually the standard, the norm now.
Yeah. I'm going to hard tangent. There's this interesting phenomenon in language where a word will appear when there is a thing that needs to be described that didn't exist anymore.
Like Giraffe Person?
Yeah, yeah. um, and then if that thing stops existing, often the word will disappear again. So the word I'm thinking of is the word yuppie. When you think yuppie, what do you think?
I don't know. Like, I've heard that word, but I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't really exist as a word anymore. And the reason the word exists is because the career ladder used to be the thing. You would enter entry level and you would work your way up the company. And then, especially in the 90s, there was this new phenomenon in business where companies would hire someone out of college into a mid or high level position. So suddenly you had these 25-year-olds who had no generational wealth, but the money of someone doing management. And this was a new phenomenon. So we invented a new word for it, the yuppie. When most people think yuppie, they think like blonde Wall Street kid with a cell phone, like the big old school cell phones, because that was the period where they arrived. Like suddenly you were out of college doing a 50-year-old's job. This was a new phenomenon, so we had a new word for it. And then as years have gone by, it's no longer a phenomenon. It's just kind of normal now to leave college into a non-entry level position. Like it's quite common with certain fields. So we don't have the word yuppie anymore. So this yuppie is this little bubble of a word that only existed because the thing was new and needed a word, but then became so commonplace it didn't even like justify a word anymore. It's as I said, a linguistic tangent. So you're absolutely right. I don't think the career ladder strictly exists in the same way anymore because so many people start their own companies or jump in at weird spots. When it comes to creative industries, well, I mean, we talked about the fact that 7 minutes ago you started at Jelly Bean and now you're the
7
operations
minutes ago.
manager at Covered Alchemy. And so like that decade-long career was a bit of a career ladder for you, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean, Jelly Bean wasn't my first game. I did come my first game, my first job. I did have
Not
experience,
first
but
job,
I've
but first
actually
job
never
in board games.
in it was my first job in a creative field for sure.
Yeah.
But I actually have never worked for a company with more than 50 employees, so I feel like my experience is a little clouded by that.
Yeah.
But I would say that it is very different in creative industries, especially for a giraffe person, because I feel like it's really easy for me to stand out.
Yeah. The what a perfect question for this topic. Go ahead.
No, that was it. It was just like it's real, and not to say like there aren't creative giraffe people, but like as someone who likes logistics, who likes spreadsheets, who understands cash flow analysis, like it's really easy to stand out.
Yeah, the common kind of stereotype of the creative genius is someone who is just kind of useless at life but very good at creativity, like the alcoholic novelist or the whatever. And especially in a creative industry, most people who are in the industry for any reason are there because they want to make films or they want to make board games or they want to be the Quentin Tarantino, they want to be the Eric Lang of the industry. Like that's their goal, and they're just doing the other stuff to make money until they can work towards it.
Unlike you're in the board game industry because you want to make movies.
Yeah,
You just got
I've
very
really missed it.
confused.
I'm a bad shot, it turns out. And so I think someone like Nicole or Miss Heidi or Allison, like a lot of the people we've mentioned, really stand out because you are all in this creative field. I met all of you through board games. Well, I met you through board games, but not through the board game industry. I met the other two kind of indirectly through the board game industry without wanting to be the person on the front of the box. And so you have all the skills that would benefit any industry, frankly. Like we've talked before about the fact that you could leave this industry and pretty quickly pick up project management in another industry because it's the same. Like managing a project is the same. But you stand out because you're very, very good at it and not trying to do an orthogonal thing.
Mhm.
I often say to Alyssa, like, as soon as I realized what a giraffe person Alyssa was, I paid her more and made sure that like I had as many of her hours as she would give me because you did the same with Julie. Once you can rely on someone, you're like, please, what can I do? Same with Will. We were like, how much
How can I
money can
give
we
you
pay you?
stability so that I don't have to worry about you leaving? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and I mean, that's a whole nother topic. Like, I don't understand not giving raises and like pay people to
Yeah.
care about what you're doing, because then they will never leave. If people
Yeah.
feel appreciated and they're paid well, they won't leave, and that's what you need. That's like
Yeah.
you need consistency.
Once I find a giraffe person, I grab them with both hands and do not let go. You are stuck in this best friendship because because I know all your
Someone help,
secrets and you have no choice.
please.
And so, like again, like Miss Heidi, I met her on a work call and was immediately texted Nicole and was like, "We found one. Send in the team." And now, hopefully, this is. I was gonna say hopefully. I've talked to her about this. She's like, "I'm so glad you did. Like, it's so likely to find people like me. Like, she's just one of the crew now." For that exact reason.
I mean, I think we all just like feeling seen, right?
Yeah.
Like that we're not alone here on
Yeah.
this rock.
And so this doesn't directly answer Luke Bumblepie's question, but I do think part of the reason why I've had a lot of success in multiple creative fields is because I am able to create, but more importantly, I'm able to giraffe. Like publishers will take weird, wild risks on me. I have had a very, very recently, I've had a publisher look at the second draft of a game and go, Peter, we want to sign this game right now and print it in 2 months, which is insane. No one should do this, but they were like, because we know you're good for it.
Yeah.
And as of yesterday, when it went to print, I have delivered. Like I have done the impossible because I'm a giraffe person working with other giraffe people to make baby giraffes.
You follow up with it. You have follow through. You are mindful about what you're committing to. And again, people's is people's, but for the most part, like 99% of the time, you're going to do what you said you're going to do. And that's just so rare in any industry that I think it's easy to stand out when your actions stand out.
Yeah, when you do the thing. So the career ladder, to more answer the question, I don't think it's defined at all in any industry these days. But in creative industries,
Mhm.
especially, I think the important thing as a creative in the creative industry is you got to break in, and that's the hard part. I think like just having that first splash. My first like proper splash. I think it's funny. Village Pillage won a big award. But I think my proper splash in the industry was that time he killed me. There's a screenwriting
Mhm.
term, there's a LA term, noisy. Like if you have a noisy script, it means it's a script that even if it's not going to get made, even if people aren't like signing it, people are talking about it. And I think that time you killed me was that because people were like, Man, did you see that time travel board game with the jokes in it? Like it's just this weird thing that kind of stands out."
It's interesting about breaking in, and I think networking is similar in the non-creative aspect of this industry, but it doesn't matter if you're the best giraffe person to ever giraffe people. Like it doesn't matter if no one's ever given you a chance to show it.
Yeah.
So once you've established that you can do the thing.
Yeah. Breaking in, and again, watch the intern. It's so good, and B, it kind of like exemplifies this whole idea where he's being ignored by his boss Anne Hathaway, and so he just takes it upon himself to solve a problem. And she like, if you can solve a problem for someone, they will notice. So yeah, breaking in is the first step as a creative, and then once you've broken in, I think just having some like consistency. It's a weird thing, but like there's so many, you make your first film and then your next one's a bit of a dud, and people are like, okay, it was a flash in the pan. If you can, even if it's not as good as the first one, if you can just make some solid stuff, I think that you get attention as like, oh, that guy is doing interesting things. Maybe they weren't hits, but they were interesting, and that I think makes people gravitate towards you. This publisher, they reached out to me because they were like, "Hey, you make weird stuff. Make some weird stuff for us," and I did.
Yeah, I think Alex's was probably Critter Kitchen, then immediately had a place for all my books follow up right after
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
And so I think Alex is in a good spot too.
Yeah. Alex is Nicole's husband, who I frequently co-design with. But yeah, exactly. His
Wait,
kind of
he is?
breakout was. Sorry, he's our mother. He's our shared mother. She came up earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of like kind of broke out and then followed up. And once you can like breaking in, sorry, is the hard part. But then if you can hit it again, so I had like Things and Rings was kind of the
Establish the
one,
pattern.
yeah, establish a pattern, then people will be like, oh, this guy's not just a one hit wonder. This guy's not just a flash in the pan. It's interesting. Okay, I want to end the episode with one of my favorite stories, which is I like to walk around my neighborhood. I'm a big walker. And one thing about living in an area and doing a lot of walking is that you end up just taking every path that you can. If I find like a new side street, it's kind of this exciting moment. I went and stayed at Nicole's house for months during the pandemic and just walked for like an hour a day.
I think you still understand my neighborhood better than I do. So
But this is not the main story. But I came home one day and I was like, yeah, I just took your son to go see the horse. And you're like, okay, must be a statue of a horse somewhere. And the next time we were out for a walk, I was like, let's go see the horse. And you're like, that's an actual horse. Like, there is a horse who lives in my neighborhood.
I mean, anyone who knows you knows that you're probably joking 75% of the time. So it was an easy assumption, but yeah.
So I was walking through my neighborhood at night and I go around the corner and what I see is, and I sent you a photo immediately. I sent everyone in my life this photo. I saw in real life, just in front of someone's house, a 6-foot giraffe. And I was like, the metaphor. I summoned it. Like the metaphor I've been using for 7 years at this point just came into being. And so now, if you ask me for a 6-foot giraffe, I am going to immediately go around the corner, steal that one,
Just
and
steal
have
it
it for you within minutes.
That's how we'll made it. Like we'll have this like $1 million mansion in Hollywood Hills, and we'll just have like a giraffe statue on our lawn
from
where
my
we live together. Obviously,
right. That's the dream, right?
Duh.
That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of it. I'm going to do a proper outro later, so I'll record that separately and upload it. So this is just for Nicole and Alyssa's sake. Anything you want to say to Alyssa before we wrap?
Thank you, Alyssa.
You're great. Hopefully this is enough adulation.
Tell Peter gave you a raise.
I'm desperately trying to. Thank you so much for listening to Blueprints for Life. If you'd like to support the show and get advanced sneak previews of upcoming episodes, check out the Patreon in the show notes. If you'd like to write us a question from the audience, the email address is life@blueprints.fm. And if you found anything in this episode useful, please tell a friend. Cheers.